Well, welcome to the Club and Country Podcast. We are the podcast of record for Nashville SC coverage from two people who've covered the club longer than anyone in the respective disciplines. And this week, there are three of us. I'm Wes Bowling, joined by Tim Sullivan, and a special guest, the most prominent acquisition of the offseason for Nashville SC, central midfielder Sean Davis. Sean, thanks for joining us.
Wes and Tim, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me. Excited to chat with you guys.
Awesome to get to connect. A brief bio for those listeners who are still getting to know Sean. It's the 8th season in MLS for the former Duke Blue Devil, although once you're a Blue Devil, you're always a Blue Devil, I suppose.
Yep,
but his first season outside New Jersey, 182 matches for New York Red Bulls, 48 of them as the club's captain, and Sean took the field for every minute last season in New York, leading MLS in interceptions, ranking 3rd in tackles. Sean, I got to tell you, during the latter stages of last season, we identified you on this podcast as somebody who'd be a great addition to this club. So surely listening to us say that last year is what persuaded you to come to Nashville, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it persuaded not only me, but the club. So it's I'm lucky that you guys were on my side. And yeah, thanks for recognizing that early.
If only we had that kind of power, Sean. If only. We'll ask you, though, a little bit in just a minute about that decision-making process to leave home for Nashville. But first, how have you fit into the team so far, and how has that transition compared to your expectations?
Yeah, for me, it's gone really well. Personally, I'm really happy. You guys hear this all the time, but it's just a great locker room, easy for new players to walk into. And so I was really fortunate to have a full preseason, at different times with trades or new acquisitions, that could happen mid-season. So I was really fortunate to have a full preseason with the group. I think that was really important for me personally, not only from a soccer standpoint, but just connecting with the guys off the field as well. And so, now I feel like I'm in a really good place. Obviously it's never kind of a finished process, and every day I'm connecting more and more with the team in different ways with the staff. And, for me, it's just gone as well as I could have imagined. Of course, from a results standpoint, it is a results-based business, and I'd be even better if we picked up a few more points within those first 4 games. But at the end of the day, I really can't complain. It's been great and super easy transition, and that's a credit to the staff at the club, the players, of course, and it's just been really easy for me.
I want to talk a little bit about how the on-field transition has gone for you. Obviously, it was a little bit different under Gerhard Struber. You guys were a little bit more multiple, I guess you could say, last year, but it's already this season been probably more different formations and implementations of personnel than you had prior to Struber's time at Red Bulls, basically the whole time. So what has it been like not only hopping into a new team, but kind of having to have a slightly altered role week to week for these first 4 weeks of the season?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, in working with the group and working with the staff, one thing that they valued a lot for at least me coming into the team, and also when you look at the entire roster, is that experience in MLS. And so I was really fortunate during my 7 years at Red Bull to play in a number of different formations, to grow up a bit, to experience different roles within the team. And so I think that helped me a lot, even thinking about that first Seattle game where we worked on a couple different formations in preseason. And then, in our last preseason game, we looked at 5 in the back and then decided it was best to go with a 4-man back line and kind of a diamond shape in the midfield. And, I just remember telling Gary that I had a lot of experience playing at the side of the diamond for Red Bull. And so I was really comfortable with it. And I think that first game in Seattle was a really strong performance. So, I'm happy to help the team in any way possible. I really mean that when I say that. And so I don't mind where I am on the field. If the staff and the players believe that I'm going to help the team, then I'll play anywhere possible. So I think that it's been good for us as a group to experience those different formations and, have different tools in the toolbox, as they say. And so we have different looks that we can adjust to, whether that's in game, before game. And, I think you guys saw that with the performance against Salt Lake last week.
We believe you when you say that you're in this to help the team first and foremost, of course. At the same time, you are accustomed to playing every minute of every match as you did last year. So how do you view that partnership slash competition really with Dax and Anibal when you know that not every match you're going to be in that diamond where all three of you are going to get on the pitch? You've got two established veterans who are respected, who I'm sure you get along with very well, but you know that there's going to be an odd man out at times. How does that dynamic work?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is, again, what's best for the team. And I think all three of us are mature enough to understand that. And so, you know, we have a really good partnership when we're on the field together. And I want to help complement them as much as possible. They've done such an amazing job for this club already, and will continue to do so. And, you know, I think you know, from a performance side, it's always healthy to have competition. That's how it always was for me earlier in my career. And again, I think if you spoke with them, they would say the same thing. But it's about pushing each other and also leaning on each other and doing whatever it's going to take to win on the weekend. And so I think you're seeing that, and I think it gives us good flexibility. And I think we just all have to be professionals, and we all have enough experience to do that. And I think that that's worked well so far, and it's a long season in MLS. Everyone knows that. There's a lot of things that are just unpredictable, different competitions that we're playing in. And so I don't think that any of us are too concerned about exact playing time or minutes or anything like that. Ultimately, we need the club to do well and to win. And so I think all three of us give the club the opportunity to do so.
I know I asked you about this at your kind of introductory press conference too, but did already having a relationship with Dax kind of help ease that transition and kind of understand what the dynamic was going to be like between the three of you guys?
Yeah, without a doubt. And, you know, I made sure that I talked to Dax as soon as I possibly could, as soon as things were progressing. And he just had great perspective about the group on the field, off the field, and, you know, shared how it could look with all three of us. And I think that's what made the Seattle game so special, was finally being back on the field with Dax. And, you know, all three of us in the midfield, I thought, had strong games. And overall, the team just looked really, really good. And I think that just solidified our belief that, you know, we can make this work and be really good together. And, you know, that was a really inspiring performance from the group, and gave us some good momentum heading into Minnesota. And then, you know, Dax gets a little sick. And so then you start to see that, you know, against Minnesota, against any team across MLS, different things can happen. And so that's where that flexibility comes in handy. But yeah, without a doubt, I spoke to Dax a lot, and you know, he made me feel really confident about the move here and how it could work. So he played a big part in the recruitment process.
So you knew Dax well coming in. You knew Alex Muil well from coming up in the system with him. Since you've gotten here, who have you become particularly close with? Anybody on the team that you've bonded with since arriving?
Yeah, it's you know, hard to pick just one guy. I would say in the beginning, you know, I definitely talked to Teal a lot because we're joining the team at the same time. You know, even Zubek as well. And then I can kind of just go down the line. You know, Eric Miller, Danny Lovitz, really everyone gets along really well and easy to talk to. And so again, that's where preseason is so important, because, you know, obviously you're training together, but you're also having meals, and you're having meals outside the hotel together. And, you know, that goes a long way in starting to understand each other, form those connections. And, you know, it's just been a really great experience. You know, I can't really stress that enough, but it's a great locker room. I feel like the staff is awesome as well. And just every single day is new for me, which is really exciting. And, you know, that's, again, one of the reasons why I decided to take this step and this new challenge.
Yeah, my last question about taking that step. You know, we looked on paper at what Nashville had to overcome to sign you, and there were some barriers there. You were playing for your home club. You were so close to where you grew up, and you were headed to a place, as we've mentioned, with, you know, a couple established people in your position. As you talked with Dax, and as you evaluated the process, was there a moment when the light switch came on and you thought, in spite of all those things, this is the move for me? And what ultimately drew you to Nashville?
Yeah, I think, you know, and again, I touched on a lot of these different reasons in my first press conference, but, you know, I think for me, that first visit in December, you know, not really knowing what to expect with the free agency process, it's completely new. not only to me but to the league. It's kind of evolving every single year, and so when I look back on it, I'm always going to remember that I was one of the first few classes of free agents, which I thought was interesting. And I thought it was important for me to test the waters and to get a feel for, how other teams felt and if there was an opportunity for me to prove myself elsewhere. And I just thought that Nashville was going to be a really good fit for me, not only in the short term, but also medium term, long term. With Red Bull's focus on youth, I just thought that this was a good opportunity for me to try something new and to find a home for hopefully the foreseeable future. So I just thought it was a really good next step. And I'd like to think that I'm a person who likes to step outside their comfort zone. And, I think this was just a perfect move for me. And I think that every single day I feel better and better about it. And, just, again, really happy to be here.
You mentioned in the past the private jet coming to pick you up and take you on the visit to Nashville, kind of like that college recruiting process, I think is what we talked about before. What was that experience like, and what did you actually do in Nashville? Obviously, it's meeting with guys like Mike and Ian, but what did you get a chance to experience before kind of making that final decision and being like, okay, some of this stuff is really cool. This is what I'm in for.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up the private jet, and I always went back and forth about, did I want to bring this up or did I not, and but then I just thought about how, supportive the club has been for me, and I think it was a really strong indication. Yes, it's a little flashy for me personally to talk about, but at the same time, it just shows how serious the club was, and I think that it deserved to be, kind of public knowledge. And it did mean a lot to me that they would go that far. And that was one of the benefits of exploring free agency, is to really see how much teams, valued me. And Nashville certainly set the bar extremely high. But I just remember flying to Nashville with my girlfriend, with Mike, with John Ingram, and that was the first time I really met an MLS owner, just because Red Bull has a different approach and philosophy. And so I thought that was really interesting. And to hear about, why he bought the team, how much he cared about the team, and to hear how he travels all the time just to watch the team play away, I thought that was really cool and unique, and, gave me a good feeling about the club. And then when we finally arrived, there were, different dinners that we went to, different meals, meeting a bunch of different people like you guys have heard about. I went to a Predators game with Taylor Washington and his girlfriend. And so that was really fun. It was in December, so not a lot of guys were around, but all in all, just a lot of, even when I was here, I had such a good feeling that we drove around different neighborhoods to think about potential places to live as well. So it just was a complete visit. I feel like it checked all the boxes. And, I think, you talk about that light switch moment. I think it was just getting here and, seeing the attention to detail. And that meant a lot to me and my girlfriend.
Yeah, so I'm in college sports recruiting coverage as my day job. So you got family atmosphere, you got what else? The education, you got the atmosphere.
For sure.
On a more serious note, what has Nashville maybe surprised you with as a city, not the club itself, but as a city? What has it surprised you with now that you actually live here and you actually are going through the day-to-day of being a Nashvilleian?
Yeah, I'll start with the bad. So the one
people
thing
can't drive in the snow, we know it.
Okay. The one thing I can't get over is how bad the potholes are here, because I thought I was coming from a state where I was told we had the worst potholes in the country. And I think Nashville definitely rivals Jersey in that regard. But outside of that, I think that we've been really happy, and it's a little difficult because we're on the road so often, on the weekends when, maybe after a game you want to go out to dinner, experience different things. It's a little difficult now because of the travel schedule, but from what we've seen so far in the different neighborhoods and even talking to the guys, there's just so much to do. It's culturally very diverse. And, the one difference is that there's not as much mass transportation. But one thing that we really like is that everything feels like it's 5-10 minutes away. So it's super easy. There's Uber that can get us everywhere at a really affordable price. And so there's different coffee shops, there's different restaurants. There's guys that live in different neighborhoods that kind of give us the local spots. So we've even had guests, like some family visit us already, and so they've had a really fun time going on food tours and kind of scanning the area for us. So it's just been, like I said, a really easy transition. There's so much to do. I feel like, it was interesting when I was in New Jersey and, living close to New York, we would have teammates, I would have teammates that were, from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and they would always do the tourist attractions. And, that's not something that, being from that area, we would partake in that too much. But now I feel like we're really going to be tourists here and go on those food tours and check out all those spots and go to Broadway. So I still have a lot of things to check off the list. But that'll happen in due time when the schedule slows down a little bit. And once we start getting those home games, those home wins, and having some time to enjoy on the weekend, but still a lot to explore.
Well, good news. My day job is for a tire company, and we sell a tire that comes with pothole protection. So let's talk after this.
Wow. Well, yeah. Hey, can I get your number after this?
Yeah, let's do it. Hey, so you mentioned, though, all that time on the road that you still got this bucket list of Nashville items to knock out because you guys are traveling so much. I know one of the appeals for this club and bringing you in was to have that added veteran presence of somebody who's not going to be fazed by something like 8 straight matches away from home. But I have to ask you, so many teams use those home matches early in the season as the foundation to build their identity, their confidence, even some of their tactical approaches. How do you guys seek to build an identity when those formative early season matches for you are the first 8 of them are in front of hostile crowds?
Yeah, I think you can spin it in a number of different ways. The way that I choose to look at it is it's just a great opportunity for us to go through some adversity together early on, and hoping that will, serve as the foundation for us as we head into home games and a more regular MLS schedule. But, as a new player, it's great to go through these different moments on the road because, again, I get to spend more time with the group in hostile environments, in difficult places to play. And there's no better way to improve as a team, in my opinion, and become closer as a team than to go through a road stretch like this. That's what I'm learning so far. And, when I think about the games that we've played so far, I would say 3 out of the 4 have been strong performances. Mm-hmm. As I mentioned earlier, it's about getting the results. I think we'll look back at the Dallas one and be a little frustrated with how we played. But even then, I think you're seeing that Dallas is a strong team. Mm-hmm. Those, I think to have 3 pretty strong performances, I think that's promising. And I think that's something that we can look towards and feel good about. But again, for these next 4 games on the road, I think that we're eager to pick up more points. And, that's part of our development as a team, is finding a way to get these road results.
Speaking to your own personal approach, looked back through your career records here, and the longest road trip you'd ever taken in which you played in all 3 games was just 3 matches, as I just referenced, 2018, 2021. I did, yeah. So for you personally, what are your tricks for prepping your body and your mind for a grind like that? Is there anything specific that you're eating, any parts of your routine, any mental work that you're doing to try to get you ready for such a long stretch?
Yeah, I mean, personally, like I've learned over the years how to eat better, for sure, doing a lot of research and reading on, what to put into my body and what not to. And I think that that's helped. I think sleep is like the biggest thing, for sure, is having a consistent sleep schedule and maximizing the amount of sleep you can get. I think it's, something that's new about this road trip is the different time zones. That's a little bit unique, like when we went to Seattle and then when we went to Utah. So that's a new challenge for me. But again, I have to say that the team is really on top of the details, whether that's getting us the right products and pillows for the flights and getting us the right supplements so that we can sleep better, and doing just a lot of research, trying to find any edge possible. I've been really impressed with that. But yeah, in terms of the games themselves, I think taking care of your body while at training, we have a full-time masseuse, which is really nice, and not every team has that. So I think that's really helpful. Working with the staff, with whether that's weights or with, simple things like stretching, I think that's been great. So really, we have all the tools that we could possibly need. For me personally, it's just about doing everything possible to feel as fresh as you can for the games. And that's worked out well. But it's really about using the time away from the field the right way. And, that's where it's like trying to get the balance right of exploring a new city, but at the same time, doing everything that I can to be prepared for the game. That's the most important thing. So I think that's worked well so far, but every single game you have to reset and refocus and be prepared to go for a result on the weekend. That's the most important thing.
You have not played a home game in Nashville SC colors, but nobody on your team has played in the new park. How excited are you for that day, and what are you expecting? Obviously, Red Bull Arena is one of the cathedrals of the game in this country, but I think a lot of people expect Geodis Park to kind of possibly be even more impressive than some of those.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think talking about my recruitment last year, I'll always remember that last regular season game. That was the first time that I played it in Nashville. And that final regular season game, there was a lot on the line for both teams, but we were at Nissan and it was just packed, and I love the energy of the crowd. And I could just feel really good vibes from everyone, and the energy in the stadium was unbelievable. And I can't wait to experience that at home in a new stadium. Again, something that I can experience with the team for the first time. And I think we're all looking forward to that. I know that we have 4 games until that point, and these 4 games are huge for us, but it's going to be great having so many home games, and that goes a long way in MLS, as you know. And so we'd love to make that a fortress. We're going to have to work for it, of course, but I think that sets up really well for us for the remainder of the season.
The Salt Lake loss had to be maybe bittersweet, mostly bitter because you wanted to take points away from it, obviously, and weren't able to. But the performance was one of the better road performances, not just by this team, but by any road team in Major League Soccer so far this season. Does that serve to then give you confidence as you head to these next 4, the stretch against Columbus and moving forward? Or is it so much of a downer where you're looking back and thinking about what might have been? How does that work mentally as you've now had almost a couple weeks to sit and stew on that?
Right. Yeah. So especially when there's an international break, you always want to make sure that you have a strong performance before heading into that break, just because you'll have a lot of time in between without a game to rebound. And so I think, again, from a results standpoint, it was disappointing not to pick up points there. But you do have to keep in mind that when you think about places like Real Salt Lake, it's one of the more difficult places to play in the league. And I think for us to have as strong of a performance as we did, I think it gives the group confidence. Again, we have the monkey on our back with set pieces, as I'm sure you guys know, and it hurts to give up. I mean, we trained so hard on set pieces and we put so much time into it. And now I think it's just about the players executing when we're on the field. But all in all, to create so many good scoring chances, to use a new formation that we hadn't played in a competitive game so far this season, and just to have success with that, I think that's really promising as well. So again, I know I always spin things in a positive light, but I think it gives us a certain amount of momentum heading into this next game. And it's really important for us to have a strong performance then.
I want to ask you really quickly about the set pieces. After the Minnesota game, Gary mentioned, okay, it was kind of a fluky set piece goal. Don't worry about it. It's not the same thing as last year.
Right.
But as it builds a little bit, do you start to get worried, even as a guy who didn't participate in the struggles last year? Or is it something that you're kind of saying, okay, the way these happen is kind of fluky. It'll be fine as long as we just go out and execute?
Yeah, I think I think first of all, it's really nice to know that we're not conceding much from the run of play. So that's the first thing. Secondly, for me, my outlook, thinking about it right now, is just trying to do my job on the day and trying to make sure that I handle, my role and my responsibility. I think that's the most we can do right now, is every guy just doing their job. And it sounds simple, it sounds cliche, but I think that's where we're at right now. And yeah, it is something that we all think about. And I think that we just have to, again, have the right level of alertness, and we have to understand how dangerous set pieces can be for the other team, and how much their other teams are focusing on it now, because they know they're not going to get much from the run of play, and they're really putting everything possible into these set pieces. So how can we concede less set pieces? How do we concede less corners, foul less, in our half of the field? Those are all things that come into play. And so unfortunately, everything's under the microscope right now, and it's on us to figure it out.
You mentioned everybody has to do their jobs relating to set pieces, but when it comes more generally to what happens on the pitch, you've got a couple jobs out there as a two-way central mid. You're thinking about defensive solidity, led Major League Soccer in interceptions last year, as we referenced, but also you're that missing link in a lot of ways of connecting the defensive midfield to the attack. With that in mind, how do you describe your game? If you're giving a sentence or two elevator pitch to clubs, maybe pitching yourself in a free agency process, what is your game?
Yeah, that's a good question. Trying to think about it right now, I would just say that ultimately I'm a player that's trying to help the team in any way possible. I think that I can complement pretty much any group of midfielders and kind of find my role to make the players around me better and try to free them up as much as possible, whether that means putting in more of a shift defensively. I'm happy to do that. If it means getting on the ball more and getting the ball to our creative players, I'm happy to do that as well. But really, I'm just always trying to find a way to help the team in any way possible. And, one of my assets is covering ground. And so if I can do that in a way that helps the team on either side of the ball, I'm happy to do that. And I'll run myself into the ground for the group for as long as I possibly can. So I think I'd like to be known as a two-way player. I think in order for that to be the case, I have to continue to help the team in the final third, which is part of my game that I think I can continue to work on. But really, I think it's nice being here and having more of a focus with the ball. I think for so many years, one of my strengths has really become an against the ball player, but there's a heavy focus on controller games with the ball here, and I really enjoy that challenge, and I think it's going to help me improve as a player.
Running yourself into the ground must be something they teach up in Harrison, since obviously I think most people would say Alex Muyl and Dax both are pretty keen on that.
For sure. Well. Yeah, exactly. So I'm just trying to maintain that rep for us.
How did being a captain for the last couple seasons adjust your mentality on the pitch? Even though you're not the club's captain here, what did that do to change your outlook?
Yeah, I think it, again, I talked about stepping out of my comfort zone. When I was in New York, I think this was just the kind of logical next step for me, was to lead the group, especially with the departures we had that year. And, at first it was definitely a new experience for me. I had to grow into the role, and really the only way to do that, I think, is to go through different experiences. And so we went through one or two games in 2020, and then unfortunately COVID hit. But then going through the COVID process and the different calls, I think it all pushed me to become a better leader, and I think find out more about myself. And so the last 2 years when I was captain at the club, it was a huge honor, especially for my hometown team. I definitely put a lot of pressure on myself, but in my opinion, it was a healthy pressure. And by the end, I felt really natural as a leader for the group and connected really well with the group and the coaching staff. And, I think that helps. It gives me a lot of confidence when I reflect on that time. And when I'm transitioning to a new team, I think that it's really helped me through preseason, through these first few games, have belief in myself and what I can bring to this group.
So every kid dreams, probably. I won't say every kid. Most kids dream of growing up to be a pro athlete. You are somebody who has met that bar. You are perhaps not the most famous member of your immediate family. What is that like for you?
Yeah. And I told this story before too, but it's funny, like this last off season, going out to dinner with, my dad, my mom, my brother, and my mom. I feel like there's eyes on us, but really it's just on my mom. And kids will go up to our table and, of course, my ego thinks they're coming up to take a picture with me, but it's really for my mom. And so it's a humbling experience for sure. And, I'm just really happy. My brother's like kind of the brains behind the operation. And, I'm just happy that my mom and brother share that and that they're able to spend so much time together, and that it's really grown into something super special for not only them, but for all of us. And so we're huge supporters of the channel. And yeah, the goal is to have them here in Nashville. Get into some restaurants, get some videos in, create some content. So we're working with our team here, and eventually when the stadium opens up, hopefully we'll have them to quite a few games.
We so appreciate your time today. I'll close with one quick, another off-the-field question. We all know the real reason that Mike wanted you here was to have another Duke Blue Devil to gang up on Dax. Is there any trash talk between Duke and UNC during basketball season?
Oh, without a doubt. We were when we played Real Salt Lake this last game. That was the day that UNC almost blew the 25-point lead against I think Baylor.
Yeah.
And I tried to play it cool, and I just put it on his radar that, hey, Baylor's coming back. And I guess, unfortunately, North Carolina still won. But, I think it's just a fun release. I mean, that goes back to when we were in New York together. And so that'll never change. It'll be surprising if that were to change. But, yeah, there's definitely a lot of trash talk in the locker room, healthy trash talk.
Well, Sean, we really appreciate your time today. Best of luck now heading back to the grind up in Columbus this weekend, and we will catch up with you another time.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me, and look forward to chatting again in the future.
Thanks.